of the day is this: can love be calculated? And what does that mean? And really, what does that look like?
All right, so we know that's a good question, and we know what today is. Today is Friday, right,
Maybe.
Jay?
I think it is. I'm not really sure.
All right, and we know what that means. So, without further ado, let's cue the music.
All right, guys, let's get it.
Welcome to Loving Beyond the I Do podcast. This power couple is building stronger marriages one day at a time. Talking about real issues on love, relationships, and marriage longevity. Let's break down the barriers and engage in healthy conversation with your hosts, Jason and Tina Marie. Take a seat and buckle up because things are about to get real.
Hey, hey,
Hey,
hey.
hey. Welcome to the show. Welcome to another episode of Loving Beyond the I Do podcast. We're your hosts, Jason and Tina Marie.
That's me.
And we're here to inspire and empower individuals with actionable strategies, tools, and mindset shifts for developing meaningful, fulfilling relationships in all area of your life using universal principles and effective communication.
That's right. And how do we do that? We do that with the Manifest Method framework to help individuals create and develop their relationships, including the most important one, the one with themselves. What is the Manifest Method? What is the Manifest Method? Tongue twister. It's the building blocks we use to help you take your relationship and life off of cruise control. Also, we have a special announcement just like last week.
Yep.
Our Manifest You roadmap to your success is now available for anyone, not just women, the men also. Jason did the men, and now we have it available for everyone. Looking to manifest greater things in your lives, that's what you need. For anyone who may be, may need a little assistance in pushing past their barriers, doubt, fear, uncertainty, limited thinking, or whatever it is. Put yourself back on track to win at life because you hold the keys. You can now go to legendaryrelationship.com/manifest you. That's MANIFESTYOU. So that's legendaryrelationship.com. Manifest you.
That's what we're trying to do, manifest you. And how can we manifest you even more, even better, baby? You
All
know?
right. So we want to know for
Mhm.
everyone out there listening, have you gotten your book yet?
Mm.
Manifest a joy-filled relationship. If
Ooh.
not, make sure you go to Amazon for Amazon bestseller,
Mhm.
or you can go to Legendary Relationship and click on the link. Please go get your book, Manifest a Joy-Filled Relationship. It's for anyone, everyone who is looking to manifest the things that they want in their lives, including their relationships, the one you have or the one you're trying to manifest. All right, so you can go to Amazon and get it, or you can go to Legendary Relationship. Also, guys, for you guys out there who have already purchased your copy, please
Please.
go to the back page
Yep.
and
We made it real simple.
real simple.
Right.
Click on, I don't want to say click on, but
Yeah, you could use your phone, you click on it,
use
or
your
you could just
phone
type it
and
in.
use your phone and go do the review.
Yep.
We need everyone to go do the review. You must have an Amazon account to complete the review, but I'm sure most of you do. If not, just create one.
That's it.
You don't have to use it. Create you an Amazon account and make sure that you take the review at the back of the book. Use your phone for the QR code, or we also put where you can go directly on Amazon. All right?
All right.
All right. Is there any other announcement that I need to get into?
I think that might be it, baby.
We can go to the first thing before we get on.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Vicky says, hello, family.
Hello, Vicky.
Hey, Vicky.
Thank you for tuning
Yep.
in this Friday.
Yep.
Good to see you.
Yes.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. And then we have Brandon.
Brandon.
Man,
Hello,
all right.
Brandon.
Hey,
My
Brandon.
people's lovely.
Brandon from
Hey,
the gym.
Brandon from the gym. Thank you
man.
for tuning in, Brandon.
Thank you.
So for you guys, I wasn't going to say it, but for you guys out there, you may see our camera going in and out. This is what happens when you go on location.
And
then
then
your
it's all
camera
configured
comes
for
back.
something else.
Right. So
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
That's okay.
But let's just roll with it tonight, right?
Yeah, so what we're going to do, we're going to pay attention to the content.
We're going to pay attention to the content. Don't pay attention to The
Pay
jumping.
attention.
I was going to say us. But all right. So let's get into tonight's topic.
Okay. So tonight's topic is
Mm-hmm.
can love be calculated?
That's right.
Okay.
Ken?
Yeah. So,
All right.
So what we're gonna do? We're gonna bring on our guest because we got a special guest.
That's right.
So without further ado, let's bring on and introduce our special guest.
Which is Miss Zoe C. And I'm going to say C because I don't want to mess up Zoe's last name. So let's bring her on. Hello, Zoe.
How are ya?
Good. Haven't seen you so
Oh,
long.
it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. So I totally hear you. It's not that easy to pronounce. So it's Zoe Sharif. So the CH sounds like the French pronunciation. Zoe Sharif.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
That's
Yeah.
good to know because I would not have known that. Thank you. So let's
all
play your
good.
bio and then let's get into tonight's show.
Okay, let me say this before we do
Okay.
that. Vicky says happy thanks
right.
and happy Friday. Earl is listening. Also,
Oh, all
tell
right.
Earl we said hello.
Hello,
all right, we
Earl.
appreciate
Happy
that.
Friday.
Yes.
Get your questions together, guys.
Yep.
Zoe's ready for questions. She loves to talk.
Yeah. Happy Friday.
Nancy, hello, Nancy Smith. Happy Friday, fam, and happy birthday, nephew Jordan D. Happy
hey, right,
birthday to Jordan D.
Yes. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Jordan D. and everyone whose birthday is in July. Actually, tomorrow is Jason's dad's birthday as
Yeah.
well as Sandy Lynn. So happy birthday. And then last week we went to a birthday party for Joan. So happy birthday to all of the wonderful July people.
That's true.
All right.
So let's find out a little bit about who Zoe actually is.
Yes.
All right.
Zoe Sharif isn't just redefining how we think about love, she's giving us a blueprint for it. As the author of Love Can in Fact Be Calculated, Zoe spent nearly 2 decades decoding the patterns of human attraction, pulling from her background in criminology, data analytics, and a relentless drive to challenge everything we've been taught about relationships. Born in Afghanistan, raised in Vancouver, Canada, and now based in Orange County, California, Zoe brings a rare blend of emotional depth, analytical precision, and lived experience to her work. Her framework isn't just theoretical. It's coachable, actionable, and designed to help people transform how they choose, build, and sustain relationships. Her work is a wake-up call. Love isn't magic. It's math, psychology, and emotional mastery. Outside of the relationship space, Zoe is a powerhouse entrepreneur, the founder of Business Plans USA, helping startups and established businesses secure funding and scale with precision. Whether she's helping people find aligned love or aligned success, Zoe's mission is the same: to turn hope into mastery and potential into reality.
All right.
All right.
Wonderful.
Whoa.
Wonderful.
Thank you guys so much. That's probably the best bio I've heard so far.
That's what we do.
I'm flattered.
All right. So besides that powerhouse that we just heard about, what else do you want the audience to know about you, Zoe?
I mean, honestly, that was pretty on point. So I was born in Afghanistan, mind you. We moved around a lot when I was a child. So from Afghanistan, we moved to Geneva, from Geneva, Montreal, and then Vancouver when I was maybe 6 years old. Then I traveled to Thailand, lived there for a year, traveled to Australia, lived there for a few years, and finally settled in Orange County. So I think all to say, I feel like I have quite a variety of experiences when it comes to human nature, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to, social interactions, cultures, whatever it may be. And I think that that is absolutely highlighted in my ability to adapt to different people, but also understanding people and understanding relationships, hence the drive towards this book, Love Can in Fact Be Calculated.
Okay. So how long are you married?
I am married. I've been
And how
married
long
for
have you
2
been married?
years. 2
How
years.
long?
2 years.
2
years?
years.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, we
Okay.
just celebrated our 2nd anniversary.
All right.
Happy
Congratulations.
anniversary.
Thank you.
So-
Thank you so
so-
much.
And the book came out when?
November of last year, so 8 months ago. Let's say
So-
8 months ago.
So the book was in writing when they got married.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, it was already completed. It was in the editing stages. The edits took a long time, and also the data analytics. Initially, I had 80 surveys to validate my theory, but once I was ready to publish, I'm like, I can't do it with 80 surveys. That's way too low. So I actually reached out to a company to purchase more surveys and also to equalize the distribution in terms of age groups, in terms of relationship statuses, so on and so forth. And I eventually bumped it to 300 surveys, and the analytics and the analysis essentially took, I think, I want to say 6 months. It's such a blur now, but like, it took a while. Yeah. And then finally I was ready to publish. And like, even then, it's so funny. I really learned how much of a perfectionist I was. I essentially told myself, just publish it. Otherwise, it'll never
Absolutely,
get done. Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
even after it's published, do you ever look at it and you go, "Wow, I could have
I could
changed
have
that."
did. Yeah, I could have.
I am already thinking about V2. For one, I'm like, this framework is way too big. I need to simplify. Like, this is like a 400-page book. No one's gonna read this. So yeah, no, I'm already thinking about version 2, in terms of making it smaller, more digestible. Not that it's not digestible now, but I think there's so many stories, so many examples, so many case studies. The analytics are thrown in there as well. So I think I'll probably like keep it shorter for the second version. I think
You know,
that's
You know, I thought the same thing about ours. We're already thinking about a smaller version, but
Yep.
then there's books
Yeah.
out there that I've read, and I'm like, this book is over 1,000 pages. I'm like,
Right.
I'm like, it's pretty
It's a
huge. It's
lot.
like
And then
20,
there's some books that look like they just published their notes.
yeah.
So I look at them and be like,
Right,
I'm like-
right. That's true. So
I'm
it's like 15. It's like chapter 20. And I'm like, oh my God, how many
Yeah.
chapters
So-
is in this book? So,
right. So,
Yeah.
I look at it, I look at the page count, and it's like 48, 49 pages, and it's like 10 chapters. Like, really?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it would depend on the target market, right? Some people just want the quick understanding of what are they talking about? What's the abridged version? But I think us as authors, we're like, but there's so much more meat
There's
to
so
this.
much
Yes.
We
more.
have to add context. We
Yes.
can't leave a stone unturned. It's not that we don't want to be challenged, but we just want to make sure we're addressing every single part of the theory and of the concept and the framework. So I think that's where I came from with this. I'm like, no, I have to include the analytics. I have to include the case studies. I have to include the nuance. I have to include the different stages of relationships, so on and so forth. But I think now that that's published, it's like, okay, I have solidified the theory. Now I can kind of create the abridged version for anyone
Yes,
who wants
yes.
the quick.
Right.
The quick.
and then just
Yeah.
go
If
deeper.
they have
like you
questions,
said,
they can kind of
overview.
go back to the first part, the first
Yeah.
book, and say, okay, then
Exactly.
you can understand it.
Yeah,
so-
at least for my own pride, it's like it's there. If anyone wants to see, it's solid. It's been validated.
Yeah, I know exactly because we left like
Oh, my
about 6 or
gosh.
7 chapters
Yes.
still in the computer. So we were like, okay, that's enough.
I'm like,
We're
baby,
gonna stop.
I'm like, baby, we have to end it.
Right.
It's two of us. We got to end this thing. It's never going to take off.
Right. So
Get it.
now, just talking about that, let's dive into your book. What is your
Sure.
book actually about? What is it?
And who is it for? Is it for dating or is it for marriages? Which one is it for?
Okay.
Yeah, what are the
So the book,
demographics?
yeah. So the book is exactly what the title is. Love can, in fact, be calculated. In other words, I can predict whether two people will be attracted to each other, whether two people will have a sustainable relationship, or if there will be breakdowns throughout the relationship. So that's one part of it. The second is, to answer your second question, it can apply to people at any stage of a relationship. So it can apply to singles, it can apply to people who are just starting to date. It can even apply to couples who have been married for 10 years. In fact, that's one of the case studies in the book where after 10 years we saw misalignments in the couple where the scores were a mismatch, and I'll get into scores a little later. And essentially how one person outgrew the other, right? And because there was no proper communication, they ended up breaking up. So one person was still very much in love, the other one was kind of, they outgrew the relationship, right? So it can be applied to all different stages. The goal is not necessarily to find out if there's a misalignment. The goal is how to get back into a place of alignment.
Okay.
Okay.
So guys, for the viewing audience, don't forget to drop your name in the comment section so we can say hello and happy
Or a
Friday.
question, right? Or a question.
I
Or a
was getting
question.
there.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, all right. I didn't
All
want to
right,
step. I don't
so
step on your time.
make sure you drop your name
Yeah.
so we can say hello and shout you out.
Right.
And then make sure you drop all of the questions pertaining to whether or not you are singled, looking for the mate, wondering which mate is for you, or if you are married and find yourself in misalignment, or wondering if you're going to get to misalignment, or if you're there, how can we get back on track? So this is a different perspective. Let's hear Zoe's stance. And so please feel free to ask the questions so that we can just, as Jason always
your
says,
relation-
you can ask for a friend. It
Definitely
doesn't have
ask
to be
for
for
this
you.
is
It can
definitely
just
for a friend.
it can just be for knowledge, right?
Yeah.
You may know someone who
Friends
knows someone.
knowledge, because we might not want to say, but yeah, definitely ask because we'll find out why that relationship fell apart.
Or
Not just-
how to attract one.
Or-
So you said that you did the study on indeed, in fact, that relationships can be calculated, right? And so you said looking at a couple and kind of pretty much were there certain questions? Were there certain qualities? What did you look at to see if these two people would actually indeed be a match? And so it's going to be two-part. And then do you think that people who may have been a good match didn't, years down the road, even though they were a good match, like you said, they get out of alignment, even if they may want the same things in life? Or, so what are some of the things that they can look for to see if this is actually happening in their relationship?
Absolutely. So those are both great questions. First and foremost, how you calculate a match is first by determining something called a self score, and then determining whether the partner's score is a match. With that said, the analytics showed that the perfect partner score is if it's 4% above yours. Okay, now I'll define the self score and the partner score.
Okay.
A self score is essentially how you feel you show up as a human. It's a numerical assessment of your self worth, your self value, your self love. And the way you do that is you pick your top 5 values, and for each one, you measure how well you feel you show up. So if, for example, one of your values is family, do you feel like you show up as a good daughter, a good wife, a good husband, a good son, whatever it may be, right? And you give yourself a score.
So
Career.
when you say you give yourself a score, was it like numbers from 1 to 10? Or
Yeah, so it really depends. If you have 5 top values, then you can either do 20 points each, as long as once you tally it up, it comes out as a percentage. Does that
Okay.
make
Okay.
sense?
Yes.
So you can actually, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so are we tallying up for the 5 categories to 100%? And so, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you can even base it on a hierarchy if you wanted to. So you can have like one top like 35%, so then measure against that. And then the second one could be 30%, the third one could be 25%. So you can do it in a hierarchy if you would like. The way we did the analytics was an equal distribution across 5 values. But with that said, you can also put 10 values if you want, and then just make it out of 10 for each one. So it's a very flexible formula in that sense. It's really up to you what you want those values to be and how you want the distribution to be, as long as once you tally it up, it gives you a percentage. Okay? Okay, so now you have a percentage, okay? Your self score based on your values and how you feel you show up for each one. The best relationship is if your partner's score matches your self score based on your values, not their values. So if, for example, your top 5 values, family, career, purpose, right, and 2 others, right? However you give yourself that score, you're going to now measure them against that score. That will give you a partner values score. That is essentially measuring lifestyle compatibility.
Right.
Okay. The story does not stop there for the partner. Next, you evaluate how attracted you are to them. This is the top 5 traits score. Traits are inherent characteristics. Yes, it includes physical qualities, absolutely. But not just that. Intelligence can be inherent, right?
Right.
Generosity can be inherent. Soulfulness can be inherent. Depth, right? Humor, and so on and so forth. So
Exactly.
essentially, you pick your top 5 traits that you typically are attracted to. These can be destructive as well, by the way. So you've got to be fair with yourself and you have to be honest with yourself. If you tend to be attracted to controlling, abusive, dominant, unkind people, you have to put that. But it's okay because at least it gives you a level of self-awareness, right? The key thing here is to be honest. And if you're finding that your values or traits are destructive, now comes in the work for rewiring, right? Whether you're single or in a relationship. So point being, going back to the top trait score, you tally all that up, you give your partner a trait score. You never give yourself a trait score because opposites do attract. If you're an extrovert, you might be attracted to introverts. Right? If you're whatever, right? So you know what I mean, right? I'm not gonna come out with all these examples, but yeah. So you don't grade yourself on traits; you only grade yourself on values. But for your partner, you grade them on both values and traits. Okay. Now, if we want to keep it super simple, we just average out the two. Okay. So if the values score is 90%, trait score is 70%, the average is 80%. 80% is now the total partner score. If you are an 85% or 90%, at some point you will likely feel unfulfilled in the relationship. If you are an 80% or 75%, you're probably a good match, okay? Because if you're a 75 and they're an 80, that means there's admiration. You feel lucky to be with them, okay? And then if you're way lower than the 80% and you believe that, let's say you're 60%, you will likely fall into a dynamic where you're infatuated. And this is where we overforgive, put up with the worst behaviors because we think we're so lucky, and maybe if they see how good we are to them, maybe they'll hold on to us, maybe they'll see our beauty. No, it doesn't work that way, actually. Like, the best way to hold on to a partner is for them to admire you. And the way they'll admire you is if you have self-respect, not if you're self-serving. The analytics showed this. And yeah, sorry, I'll pause here.
No.
Because I feel like I'm talking your ear off.
Well, our audience hear from us every week, so we
Okay.
want you in.
Let's get some more. Let's get some more comments, and then we can see if we get some more questions in case anyone may not be following along or may not understand.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
sure. I'll pause.
Hi,
Okay.
Dot. Good
Dot.
evening, Jason, Tina, guests, and listeners from Calumet City, Illinois.
Hey, welcome
to the show, Dot.
Yep.
Happy Friday. Thanks for tuning in. All right. Kelly, hello,
Kelly. Hey,
Happy
how are-
Friday.
Happy Friday.
Everyone. Thank you for tuning in on this Friday. It's such a wonderful to see you guys. You could be
Yes.
doing anything, but you're here with us.
Right. You're here with your time, and we really appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So,
You got a lot of dynamics
yeah.
there?
That was
So
a lot.
You know, it's-
I can go to the second question if you want.
Yep.
Do you want
okay.
me to go
Yep,
to the second
yep.
one?
Okay.
So your second question was what happens when two people are aligned in the first place and then years down the road they notice there's a misalignment. Okay. So two things, there are two scenarios here. The first scenario is that from the get-go they were not honest with themselves about what they want, or they put way too much weight on some values and some traits and not enough on others. So for example, if you're looking for a trophy husband or a trophy wife, right? And you're putting so much weight on, let's say, appearance, but not enough on
Depth,
whether
yeah.
it's depth or
Yeah.
whatever your traits are, right? Eventually you will be unfulfilled, and eventually that lack of fulfillment will be projected into the relationship. Right? So that's just one example. But then there's other times where it actually truly is a good match. But once you have kids, once you go through all these life experiences, clearly you're going to change. Right?
We change
Values
every day.
shift.
Absolutely.
Exactly. My values were very different 5 years ago than they are
Yes.
today. And now my husband and I, we work through that because I've actually changed as a person, right? And I'm happy with my growth, right? I would say Kevin is probably about the same values as he was 5 years ago, which is completely fine, right? And that's like the beauty of being human. We're all so complex and different, right? So the key here, though, is to come back to a place of understanding and alignment. So when we had met 6 months down the road, we actually did the formula together. and and he
Wait a
was
minute, hold
hired.
on. Before you,
Yeah,
before
yeah,
you,
yeah.
before
Yeah,
you
yeah.
say
Okay,
that.
okay. Go for it.
So 6 months into dating,
Hmm.
you pull this assessment out.
I'm thinking about writing a book. Can you take this
Wait a
assessment?
minute, is that what you said?
No, worse.
Oh,
You want to
that's
hear this story?
Yes.
Oh, like,
yes.
oh man, I think I freaked him out. So I think it was our
But he
second date
married
or
you
third
anyway. That's
date.
love. No.
That's love.
I know, poor guy. Dang, my poor guy. I think it was our second date.
Oh,
He's like, "What do
Wow.
you do for fun?" And I'm like, "Oh boy." So I'm like, well, here's what I do. And we were eating ramen, I think, and just over our like very light like lunch or dinner, I can't remember, over ramen, I essentially dumped on him that I enjoy relationship theory. I'm working on this thing. It's a calculation, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I think he was completely taken aback. So when I got home, I swear in my head, I'm thinking, that's it.
You're
It's
never
not
gonna
gonna
see
go.
him again.
Pretty sure I messed that one up.
Right. You were thinking I did the purse dump. I
Right.
did it too soon.
Yep.
It was too
I
soon.
let everything out.
But right. And you couldn't pull back. You couldn't stop. You just let it. Right.
He
Then
asked you
I
that
had
one
to treat
question.
it with confidence. I'm like, no, I just have to be, very confident with what yeah. But I will say that he was supportive. And later that night, he actually texted me. Maybe he felt the energy of me feeling a little like shy, or like, that vulnerability hangover where it's like, ooh, man, like I just said a little too much.
Yep.
So I think he felt that. So he sent me a very reassuring text. I'm like, okay, I guess I didn't mess it up. And I think it was 6 months down the road where I asked him, would you mind doing this with me? Because I want to try it out on couples. And that's where it was just so revealing. A, he didn't realize I admire him. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And he felt great about that. B, he saw, well, we both saw where each other's kind of insecurities were, where his insecurities were. It's funny because I would have never assumed that for his values, he wasn't rating himself as high as I was seeing him, right?
Did you ask Kevin?
And vice versa.
Was it okay to share his information on here? Right? Did you ask him, Kevin? Can I share your information?
Okay. I think 5 podcasts in, I told Kevin, I'm like, just so you know.
Yeah, remember?
Okay.
All right. And so you were,
just so you know.
you were
Yeah,
surprised
sorry.
at where his insecurities were, and he was surprised where your insecurities lied.
I think he was surprised that I admire him. I think he didn't realize that. So here's the thing, though. That was 6 months into the relationship. 1 year after marriage, the values had shifted, the scores had shifted on both of our ends. Because, as you know, marriage is not always easy, right? We can get very lazy. We come home from a late day at work and we are just not on it, and we need time to recharge and reset, and sometimes we are just not at our best. Not sometimes, oftentimes, if
Sure.
we are not
Great.
conscious of that, it can very easily happen. So about a year into the relationship, we were not aligned. And it got to a point where we were speaking different languages. We were just not getting each other. So I sat him down and I'm like, let's do it. And that's where I understood where the misalignments were. I was slipping a lot when it comes to my communication style and manners. Like I was being very sharp, right? Not patient. And I had my reasons, and I explained it in the values, right? Because one of my top values is reliability, which is another word for me for saying a rock, right? And I felt like Kevin was slipping in terms of being my rock. So there were these two things that we didn't realize we were doing. So we were both projecting it into the relationship. Every
Right.
time he felt like my communication style was not great and he felt disrespected, he would stop being my rock, which is kind of fair enough. And then he
Right.
understood that when he wasn't being a rock, I was like, well, why would I be nice? I don't get it, right? Why would I put in that extra effort when I don't feel supported?
And that's
And
a
that's
typical question.
Yep.
Absolutely. And so the communication. So your book talks about the styles and the thing. Does it go into how to communicate? So was your answer just basically sitting down and taking your evaluation? And I don't want to call it what would I should call it? The quiz, the evaluation, the
It's called the love formula. You can call
Okay.
it the
The love
formula or the love formula.
Okay.
Okay.
So doing the love formula, that was enough for you guys just to see where the problems were lying, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I was scoring low in his eyes for communication. He was scoring low in my eyes for reliability. And at the end of the day, no one wants to feel like they're a bad spouse,
Right.
especially not 1 year into the relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
also, our main goal here is to be happy. Like, we're not leaving each other. So
Right.
we
We're
have to
just getting
work on
started.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We're just getting started, and he's not giving up. I'm not giving up, but we really needed a place, or we needed to come back to alignment because it was getting at a point where we were both so frustrated. Not with it, yes, of course, with each other, but also the situation where it's like, why can I not get my point across? Like, how
Right.
is
Right.
this, you know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think
Yep.
this evaluation where we saw, okay, well, he still believes in me in these areas, but this is where I'm really losing points, and he gets it and I get it. So it's like, okay, let's both work on it. And clearly it's not going to be an overnight, fix, right? But now we are a lot more mindful and just doing these check-ins with one another, like where do we stand right now with the love formula, I think is very powerful because I do think that a lot of marriages, unfortunately, don't do that check in and they're kind of on autopilot, especially if
Yeah.
there's kids, mortgage, career, all of that. And when you're on autopilot, one day you wake up and you're like, oh, like I just spent 10 years completely unfulfilled and unhappy. And then
Absolutely.
and then one person asks for the divorce, the other person's totally shocked. It's like, shouldn't be. Like you shouldn't be, you know? Sorry.
I know.
What happened?
Uh,
No, we're hearing some voices in the other room. It's like, well, where are they
yes.
coming from?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
I
someone's
thought I
here.
said something wrong.
No,
No, no, no, no, no.
someone's
She
in
looked
our
at me like I'm
studio.
supposed to know who it is. I don't
Someone's
know.
in our
I'm sitting here
studio
with
that's
you.
not supposed to be here, but okay. So we're gonna keep on going. That's the wonderful thing about live,
Yeah.
right?
You get it.
You have to go with the flow of life.
Just go with it. You just
Right.
go
have
with
to.
it.
It's just like marriage, like you were saying, right? You wake up 10 years down the road and you find yourself unfulfilled. But so many people, and I think that's the biggest thing about marriage or even dating.
Right.
When you get into dating, there should be a process where you are happy, even though you're trying to figure out what's going on. So let's evaluate. Let's see what my morals are and your morals are, right? Let's see where our values lie so that we can know that we appreciate the same thing, that we value the same thing. And I think that's so important because oftentimes we're looking at one or two characteristics and not the whole picture.
Right.
And I think
Exactly.
that was a
Exactly.
very good analogy when you said it's not just one thing, right? It's not just your traits.
Combination
It's a combination of a lot
It's
of
a
things.
package.
Yes.
It's the package. And you have to look at the package if you're fixated on just one value or just one trait. And for that moment, it feels amazing. Yeah, I get that. The human emotions are very strong. Your hormones are going to activate. You're going to feel so in love. I totally get that. But the whole point of this is making smart decisions in love, not emotional decisions. Not that it doesn't take into account emotions. In fact, we found from the surveys that the connections that were more likely to last are the ones who were emotional, not necessarily practical, right?
Okay.
So the ones who
Yeah.
were more traits focused and not necessarily so values leaning, those ones tended to stay in a relationship. So it absolutely acknowledges the importance of emotions and not to just look at the values, right? But with that said, if you're fully traits, that's actually a personality type that I identified, which I call the extreme emotional. This is the type of person who does not pay attention to whether the values are a match.
I'm gonna have to take a break because I need to. So you go ahead. I do apologize.
No, you ain't got to take no break. Just step right
Okay.
down. Yeah, you're fine.
No.
Yeah, she's fine.
I need to take a break because I need to see who's upstairs in my house. So, excuse me, guys. We're gonna hide. This is so unexpected, but excuse me, Zoe. Please,
That's
Zoe, finish
okay.
talking so no one will know I'm leaving. Can you highlight her?
Okay.
No, we're not going to highlight. Okay, I'll highlight it for a second here. She got to say something.
All right, Zoe, go ahead. Finish telling the audience all about. Go ahead. I'm like,
Okay,
so
let me
crazy
talk
right now.
about personality types. I'll talk about that. I think that that'll be a nice conversation with the audience. Okay, so here's what we found about personality types. You can we found 4 different versions. Okay, and you can either fall within a healthy personality type or an extreme personality type. Earlier, I was talking about the emotional versus the practical. The emotional person will be traits leaning, which means that they will look into attraction, but then the extreme emotional will be fully focused on traits and not enough on the values. And that's where infatuation comes in. That's where toxicity comes in, right? That's where illogical choices in love come in, right? Now, if you look at the other side of that, you have the healthy practical. This is someone who's more values leaning, and then the extreme practical. The extreme practical will not look at attraction or chemistry when engaging in a relationship. So, if, for example, the top 5 values happens to be career, money, image, whatever, right? But you're not
Yep.
paying attention to whether you're truly attracted to them, you will be unfulfilled. You will be. And essentially, you're going to waste your own time
Yep.
and be miserable. So that's one of the personality traits that we identified.
You know, it's interesting. We have a saying that where we help couples keep their take their marriages and relationships off cruise controls, because we know that after a while you go on autopilot, you go on cruise control, you just there, and you end up, and then the kids are getting ready to go to college, and you're like, hey, we're out of here. I don't even know who you are anymore. So when it comes to the love formula, when do you actually sit down and like for couples, what would you suggest? When should couples do it? I mean, because once isn't enough, right? Okay, we know our baseline, we know what's going on, but like you said, as time goes along, we are growing and developing and evolving into our own special beings.
Exactly.
How often should we come back and revisit our love formula to see where we stand today?
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, I guess it would just be a matter of comfort level. Some people don't like to dive in too deep in the first few months, right? I mean, we live in a very different dating culture today. It's not like how it was 30 years ago. So now there's a period of let's just test things out before we become official. And then once we're official and and that whole shebang. So
That's a nice way to put
I
it.
think, yeah.
Yeah,
So
'cause
I
it's
think
it's a mess.
it's a hot mess. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I wouldn't want to
But
date right now.
I feel so bad for, I mean, I don't want to say that, but like, yeah, if it's not intentional, it's very difficult. And then also, if you look at the dating apps, there's a pool of people on there who are looking to just have fun. Then there's a portion of those people that actually want something serious, right? But then everyone's got people in their DMs. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't understand that
What are
myself.
we doing? Yeah. But with all of that said, sorry, I totally forgot what the question was.
I
At
was
which
saying
point?
about
At
when
which point
when
do you
should you
do
do
the
the
formula?
formula?
Yeah, so I mean, Kevin and I, we did it in our first 6 months, right? So I think it was a 6 month mark, and he was totally comfortable doing it. And at that point, we had already discussed eventually getting married, engaged, married, and all of that. So it felt appropriate for us. And then we didn't do it again until probably a year into the relationship. And that's because of the misalignments that we were experiencing. So I would really depend on the couple. If you guys are doing great and you love each other and you have great communication, you understand each other, it's not super necessary, I guess, right? But if you're really getting to a point where it's like you're having a hard time talking and you don't have the tools to articulate what it is that you're looking for, what you need, and all of that, and it always ends up escalating, this would be a good tool. But I will say, please, this is so not a tool to bully your partner. Like, don't give them a 0. Like, you suck so much, babe. Like, here's your 0. Like, that's not cool.
Right,
So
right.
just make sure that if you have a mediator, even better, right? If you have someone like a couples therapist, even better. But if you're gonna do it, please do it with kindness. Don't be a jerk.
So let me ask you this. So would you recommend someone doing it for themselves, and then maybe they don't have a partner yet, but they're looking to find that partner. So they kind of have an idea, kind of the area that they're thinking about, and how soon into getting to know someone should they ask, "Hey, would you take," when they dump their purse? Would you mind taking this love?
Yeah.
Right.
Great question. Thank you so much for that question. So actually, first and foremost, it's very important that you have a strong self-score. The self-score, like I said earlier, is a numerical assessment of self-love and self-worth. If you are not entering a relationship with a strong self-score, you are not likely going to sustain that relationship per the data. So the data showed that the couples who were one of the strongest couples, or sorry, one of the highest self scores were the ones who were currently in a relationship. In other words, it's very important that that you feel good about yourself. Otherwise, you're going to project that into the relationship,
And I
right?
think a key to that was when you said about being honest, being
Yeah, with
honest
it, with
with
your
with the way
assessment.
you're scoring
Right.
yourself.
Right.
100%. If one of your values is money, okay, just be honest with yourself, right? But ask yourself, are you putting too much value there and not enough on reliability, right? I get it, like we all like need to survive, so money is important. But if again you're putting too much value on that, I don't know that you're gonna attract a rock. And I think that having a rock, in my opinion, is the most important thing in a relationship, right? Someone you can depend on, right? Same thing with attracting a trophy. If your values are, like superficial, or your
Right.
trait preferences are not healthy and they're destructive per your own patterns, you have to be honest with yourself. The key here is not to like feel bad about yourself. The key here is to grow, right? And to learn to rewire certain preferences that you have, right? If your top traits, or sorry, your top 5 values, if it doesn't include reliability and dependability, I don't know that you'll engage in a healthy relationship. And beyond that, that also means that you are not being reliable and dependable if that's
Absolutely,
not
because
your
it's not.
value.
Yeah, because
So,
it's not one of your
exactly.
Right.
values. And then also,
Exactly.
I would just
Exactly.
add to that before you get to the second part. Adding to that is that, like when you said, if one of your values is money, maybe even ask yourself, why do I value it? Is it something that has happened in the past that is triggering why I feel like I need to have such, security, not necessarily a value, more, so the way they look at it, what is your perspective and where does it come from? But
Yeah. So it's funny that you said that because you know how I said I shifted my values? Money used to be one. I shifted it to freedom. That's what I was trying to say,
right,
right?
Right.
So it's
right,
not necessarily that I was, evaluating someone's bank account or whatever. What
exactly.
I was
Right.
evaluating was, or can we have the lifestyle that I would like to have,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The freedom,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I totally agree with you. What is it that the money brings to you,
Right.
right? And also, I would like to say one thing that I found from, because we did analytics based on age, based on gender, right, in terms of what people tend to value,
Right.
right?
Right.
Here's what I found, which I thought was really interesting. The lowest age group and the highest age group both put purpose, but the middle groups did not. So from 25 to 45, purpose was never a top value.
Hmm.
And I thought that was really interesting because, in my opinion, purpose is like a natural medicine.
Yeah.
When you pursue purpose, you feel good, you feel on track, you feel free, you feel recharged, reset. And I realized I'm like, in this middle age group, like I just feel like maybe we're so busy with other things or
Yeah.
whatever we
Yeah. We care less
whatever
about
social
purpose.
media and media is teaching us we're not being taught that purpose is actually a very important value, and also it's highly attractive when you see someone
Yeah.
do something that they love and they're glowing
Mm-hmm.
and they're happy,
Yeah.
and then nothing can touch them because it's like I'm actually doing exactly what I feel like doing and what makes my soul feel good. You know what I mean? Sorry, go
Yeah,
Yes.
ahead.
I could kind of think that maybe it may go back to when you're young, you're trying to figure out what you want to do. So you're pursuing, like, what is my purpose? What do I want? How am I going to get my dreams and desires? And
Hmm.
so at 25, some of us have finished college. We're starting a career, So I
We're trying to
think
move up the
you're
ladder.
you're on
Yeah.
that
Move up the
purpose,
ladder.
right? And so between 25 and 45, you kind of, you're at that. I'm starting it. I'm making the money. I'm like I'm living life. And like you said, it's an array of having so many different things going on, right? Getting married, starting a family, having a career. So all of that is going on, and I think the mindset is that I'm living my purpose. Whereas at the end of life, you really realize that life is valuable. And I think you realize that each day is a gift. It's a present, right? And so you have more time behind you than ahead of you. So you're more focused on what is my purpose here these last days that I have? What am I trying to accomplish? What legacy do I want to leave? So I think in that middle part, we kind of get
we have time. We have time.
We think we have time.
Right, exactly.
Or we think that we're living that purpose, so we're not so purpose driven.
I think our purpose at that point
and
is,
that's just kind of given, doesn't have to be that, but that's just kind of, if I could, kind of say how people kind of think from,
those different age brackets.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're totally right. I think that media tells us what our purpose should be. Money, cars, travel, show it off, blah, 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 blah. I love traveling, but you know what I mean? It's like for the purpose of showing off, not for the purpose of actually experiencing a different culture.
Right.
Right? So I think that, I'm not going to say we have it wrong. I'm just saying that there's a really big chunk missing in terms of how we define purpose. And again, it is a natural medicine. Like I know for me personally, whenever I was writing the book, I felt so good and recharged. And it didn't matter if it was a Saturday. It didn't matter if it was 11 p.m. It didn't matter. That was literally what made me feel like I was on the right track. And made me feel like my life is worth living. Not that other things weren't, but that's what gave me my glow.
Gotcha.
And but again, seeing from the data, I'm like, we're not actually doing this as a society.
Right. And I think we forget, and I think that needs to be brought up more, that we need to have our purpose more in front, and not just, as you said, living to what the
society,
the traveling, the flashy clothes, of this. I think we need to understand the purpose.
I think that's a social media thing, right? We live in our lives through social media, right?
I think it's just social, period.
Well,
I think it's just being social, period.
It is.
But so I know
it's both aggravated by social media, probably.
Yeah.
It's social. It's human nature to be showy, peacocking or whatever.
Absolutely.
But I think social media is really aggravating it, and I think it's created this culture of comparison and this culture of I need to be better and I'm not doing good enough, and like my kid now needs to be better and I need to add filters to all these photos and so on and so forth, right? I believe social media has absolutely aggravated this.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And takes us off of purpose.
Right.
We've forgotten what we want in trying to, as you said, compare. But the second part of the question was, when should people ask if they bring someone in, their partner, or if they're, I know you may not remember, going back, because I interrupted, going back to what should you take it and know where you are, and then when should you ask if a perspective.
I think I just asked that question.
What?
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
I can back to it.
Yeah, I'm saying, when should you, as a couple, when should you actually?
No. So the second part was when I kind of interrupted her in the second part of answering. She was going to say, when should you introduce it to if you meet someone?
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I just do it when you're both comfortable. I think that all couples have their own rhythm and how fast they grow and be together, right? In fact, I know a friend who's been seeing her guy for a year. And that's what works for them. I know others where within the first week they just knew, right? There's like gut feeling, like, you are mine, right? So I think at any point that you feel like, hey, this could actually go, go the distance, do your self score, make sure that you feel good about yourself, and then if you feel like you and your partner would be open to it, just to see that you guys are aligned. It's really the same thing as asking, hey, what do you want in life? Do you want kids? Do you want a mortgage? Like, where do you want to be in 10 years? It's the same thing. All it is, the checklist is more specific, right? You measure yourself, you measure your partner. Be very gentle. I cannot stress that enough. Right? Please don't make anyone feel like crap. But yeah.
You keep saying that.
And the thing is,
I know. I'm afraid that it's gonna be used.
Right? Use it for good, not for evil.
Right.
But I'm just thinking, if someone does that, just to that may not be your partner. That may be an indication that they're a little A little rough around the edges. Right?
Well, let me be honest with you. There's been times where I was really upset with Kevin. I'm like, I'm gonna do my own formula. I don't, and I was like, and I'm writing things down. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought, right? But of course, I was just really upset. I never showed him. I hope he doesn't listen to this.
That's funny. She's like, I'm gonna do my own. I'm gonna do my own formula because I have to be right, right?
Yeah,
And
I'm like, this is not in my head. But I never shared it with him, right? Because again, I think it was just like I needed to put things into perspective for myself. Yeah, another key thing is don't do it when you're angry. Also, don't do it when you're like extremely happy. Don't do it when you're drunk. Don't do it if you're high. Don't do it. Just do it when you're like.
You're taking a whole bunch of them off the list here.
Don't do it. Do it on a Friday night at 6.
So
right?
when are we going to actually do it?
Right. All right. So let's get some questions real quick.
All right. Let's see what she got here.
Can you go back to Dot's because she did say Happy Friday, but I didn't see that one.
You did not?
No,
Okay.
because she was responding to me. Thank you.
No.
I hate to be in your thing.
No.
Thank you, Dot. Happy Friday. I
Happy
just wanted to
Friday,
make sure
Dot.
we got you because I kept saying Happy Friday to everyone.
Yep.
All right. And this is so crazy. I like getting up and walking out. All right. Kelly said it's very important to check in because we do change our perspectives, boundaries, and expectations as we grow. Absolutely.
Yep.
Just as you said, and it could be just a clarification of our words, or it could be a clarification of, I'm not like the same thing I valued maybe when I was 18 and didn't have experience. I'm not going to value at 48. Right. So
Totally.
yes, ongoing.
Yeah. In fact, I think it's just recently, like in the last 2 months, that I expanded my top 5 values to top 10 values. And I added things that I hadn't even included in the survey. And it's not things that are obvious, but it's stuff like as I grew up, right?
Right.
I'm
Right.
older,
Yes.
but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As
Experiences,
I
life.
experienced as I experienced life, as I experienced marriage, as I experienced, a few things in my life, I'm like, no, this is important to me. And this is how I want to show up for myself. And I would love for my partner to show up in that way as well. Right. And that's what I needed to share with Kevin. Like, hey, I've changed a little bit. Not my core is always the same, of course, right?
Yeah.
But I've shifted.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
and good thing that I did do that because he wouldn't have known. Kevin would
Right.
not have
Exactly.
known.
He was
Right.
like, what's going on with you? What?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Like, why are you disconnected from me, Zoe? Right? And it's like, well, I didn't even realize that I had changed until I put that list together, and I'm like, it's no longer these top 5, it's now these top 10, right? So again, it's a solid tool for communication, I feel.
So
you know what? I just wanted to go back to the beginning. Like you said, it was a year in. I mean, that's still the infatuation stage of the 1 year. I don't know. We argued until what? I don't know. Kids came or something. 5 years into it or whatever. It was odd. We didn't argue for a few years. We were really having a great time. All those years. Yeah. And we did. It was just.
we argue?
It was a kind of a disagreement.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It was
Oh
odd.
my God, that's a dream relation. Where can I pick up your book? I'll send a copy to Kevin. I'm like, hey, babe, we need to study it.
Yeah, this year. So how much of that first year, learning each other, going and just coming together as one, your upbringing had anything to do with maybe the miscommunication and misalignment at that time?
A lot. I didn't realize at first. So I'm from Afghanistan. I grew up in an Afghan family, mind you, still in the West, right? Like Canada, right? Kevin grew up in SoCal. And he's from a white family, right? A Caucasian family in Southern California. So when we had first met, everything was aligned, right? And this is our primary selves that are showing up for each other, right? It's not until the stressors were included in our relationship that we saw how we were handling it.
Right.
So we are both so different when it comes to how we handle disagreements. And it is, for me, the way I see it is, this is cultural. This is cultural for sure, right? So it took a while for me to express what I need during these moments. It took a while for both of us to just come to an alignment. But yeah, that absolutely did show up. It did show up. In fact, that became something of my values. I'm like, I didn't realize that culture actually was important and upbringing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't realize it.
So how long did you guys date before you married?
3 years.
3
Well,
years?
3 years between the dating and the engagement. Yeah.
Okay.
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 Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
have another question?
No, that
Okay.
was.
Do we have any more comments before I go?
No, but you guys should get your questions in because this is pretty good. You might want to ask, like I said, ask for a friend.
So my question is for those who may may answer it, and as you stated, they don't value themselves very high, right? You're attracting the type of person that you admire, or that that you're putting up here, and you're kind of low. How do people get to a point where they realize that I need to increase my value of me? So is there something in your book that helps people know if you're, rating between here and here, you're not, your self-love, your self-value, your self-worth
Maybe a
probably
little
needs
low?
to increase, right?
Okay.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So we found that the average self-score for women was 76%. The average self-score for men was 73%. So if you fall below that, way below, I'd say 4 to 5% below that, you're probably below average when it comes to self-esteem. And there are ways to work on that. So for example, there are 2 ways to work on your self-score. One is to change your perception. In other words,
Zoe,
are you being
bring
hard on yourself?
Bring your mouth to the, come up. Yep, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Kind of fading out. Yep, okay.
Okay. So there are 2 ways to increase your self-score. The first one is to ask yourself whether you're being too hard on yourself. If you're giving yourself like 5 out of 20 for a career,
Right.
but you're literally fresh out of school,
Right.
give yourself a
right.
bit of a break, right?
Yeah.
You're fine. Everything is fine. So that's one way to look at it. The other way, though, is, can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yeah, we can hear you
Yeah.
fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay. The other way to look at it is if it is rooted in some sort of reality, like you're not pushing yourself hard enough, well, then
Right.
do that, right? So let's assume education is one of your values. Education doesn't have to mean a bachelor's or a master's or PhD. Education could be podcasts. It could be understanding world politics, right? Geopolitical dynamics. It can mean so many
different
things.
Right.
Right.
And there are so many ways to get educated. You can
Right.
download an app that will summarize books for you in 15 minutes. And that's an education in itself. So continue to do these little things to increase your self-score. And the beauty is that you want to see an upward trend, right? If you have that upward trend, it'll show in your body language. It'll show in how you present yourself in a relationship. It'll show in your inner glow, your inner self-confidence, right? So no one is asking you to be 90%, 100%. That's not the goal here. The
Right.
goal is to continuously work on yourself and to improve your own self-perception, right? So A, like I said, are you being hard on yourself? If you are, stop that. And B, if you feel like it's rooted in some sort in reality, okay, well, work on that little by little. Like I said, all we want to do is see an upward trend. Be very mindful of depressants like alcohol. Alcohol, the next day, the next few days, your neurochemicals will not be activated in a healthy way.
Right.
And that's going to show in
going to
how you
affect-
view yourself
Right.
and also how you view your partner, which is not fair to the relationship. So be careful with alcohol. At least be self-aware that in the next few days, you might not feel so great and that you're going to project that into the relationship, right? Same thing with any type of depressant, right? Be careful with toxic people around you. In fact, there's a chapter in my book where I call some people like the black holes. A black hole is when you go near them and then they just suck your
Suck all the
score.
energy out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in this book, in the framework, we call it a score, right? But essentially, they suck your score. They make you feel like you're not worthy. They make you feel like you're not doing great. Be very mindful of those people, because if you're constantly surrounding yourself with, excuse my language, but a-holes, you're gonna feel bad. Then you're gonna go into your relationship, project that into the relationship,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. We don't even realize that the relationships we have outside of our intimate relationships play a big role. They play a
Yeah.
huge role,
Yeah.
vice versa. So what would you say for couples who may be married or dating and they're out of alignment, right? So this is a very good point that you were making when you're not aware, and awareness is the key. So how would they do that from your book to
Yeah.
get back in
So
alignment?
for sure. So do the love formula, right? First, do your own self score, then score your partner, share your answers. Okay. I would also encourage you to look into the personality types, because I do feel like it helps people understand why you score the way that you do, right? Like if you're an extreme practical, if you fall into any of the extreme personality type, you're likely projecting an imbalance into the relationship and then putting that on your partner's shoulders, right? So if you
Right.
do these personality type questionnaires, at least you'll know whether these calculations that you're doing are coming from a healthy mind or an imbalanced mind, right? So past that, you do the calculations, you share answers, and just talk about it. Just talk about it. And try to get to a place of realignment. So if, for example, Kevin had scored me less for communication style and manners, it's a very easy question. How can I be better? What do you need?
Right.
Zoe, I just need you to be calm. Okay. And then I'll say, Kevin, I just need a bit of space. Just give me a sec. And he'll say, okay, done.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Again, not an easy fix, right? Because when you're
No, it's
upset,
not.
sometimes it's very difficult to apply that. But it's that repetition, at least being able to articulate it in the first place is the key thing. Once you can articulate it, then you can apply it and repeat it,
Now,
right?
are
It's
you
not.
able? Now, are you able to apply that? What you just said? Give me a second. In the middle of a discussion, or is it afterwards? It's just like, you know what? I need a minute. I
Yeah,
just
yeah, I mean, I have to, because I'm a person who needs space, right?
okay.
Whereas Kevin is a person who wants to fix it right then and there.
Hmm.
So what ends up, this is where we have a misalignment.
Okay.
So where, we have a disagreement, and then I get annoyed, I need to take a step back, right? So in the past where we didn't understand each other, now we do. So now he understands if I step away and I let him know, just give me a sec, he understands not to push the topic. And
Sure.
then what usually happens is I'll come back calmly and either apologize for my part or explain where I was coming from, and then he'll be calm as well. So I feel like that's been very helpful for us.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll tamp it down, right?
And
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, so when someone's looking for to attract that perfect mate, that perfect match, once they take their score, you think it's best to just, once they are aware, to just go out and look for those people that have those values. Maybe you can sit down and say, well, what are your values? And instead of asking them to take
So you're taking a
the love
verbal
formula.
quiz.
Right, right. Well, you're just talking. So
Right.
because oftentimes we don't know
Yeah.
what we want. And I think that's the key to the love formula. You need to know what you value, what what you hold true, what type of characteristics are you looking for, so that you know what to look for. Like you said, if
Yeah.
you're looking for a trophy wife or a trophy husband, what other characteristics are you looking for? Right?
Yeah, so that's actually if you want to be a little sly about it and not necessarily ask like what are your top 5 values, you can ask I know, right? You can ask how do you define sophisticated? So I find that the way people define sophisticated is how they want to show up. And how they want to show up tends to be their values, right? So there are different ways. Yeah, and also just pick up on the key conversations that they're having, right? If they're talking about politics, if they're talking about friendships, if they're talking about what they did at work, and you see them light up and glow up, you could probably find out what they tend to value. I will say though, that I don't know that you'll have a solid assessment until at least like a third or fourth date. Like, people have walls, right? And people are very mindful about which part of them comes out. And
Absolutely.
unfortunately, we have a lot of people who are very skilled at manipulation, very skilled. So I would just, say be discerning, but how do you define sophisticated? I think that's how you can really get into their psyche and find out what they truly value.
Okay, so did you mention? So just tell everyone again the name of your book, where they can find it at, and any other information that you want to leave.
Sure. So the book is called Love Can, in Fact, Be Calculated. You can find it at the Barnes & Noble stores in SoCal, at the Spectrum location and Huntington location. You can find it on the Barnes & Noble website or Amazon. If you want to learn more about the analytics, you can hop on my website and it's lovecaninfactbecalculated.com. So essentially you can learn about what people's top 5 values tend to be, their top 5 traits, right? And you can kind of find out where you fit in all of that. Beyond that, my Instagram handle is at Zoe Sharif, and it's spelled Charif for Fred, and it's Zoe with a Y.
Wonderful. Are there any other questions? Thank you, everyone.
Or is there anything that we might have missed that you
Yes.
wanted to cover in the book? Because it's 300 pages. I mean, almost 400 pages, right? Oh no, it's almost 400 pages. So, is there anything that we might have missed, or you didn't get a chance to discuss that you would like to go over?
I feel like I covered most of it, but very briefly, there's something in the book that I don't really talk about. There's a very strong spiritual component to it. Although it's analytical, I'm a very spiritual person. I find that God, your angels, the cosmos tend to give you what you want if you're specific with that. So when you list out your values and you say the score that you want to be, I find that the God angels, they either gift you reasons to feel that that's truly your score, or your subconscious will just automatically reprogram, not automatically actually, but little by little reprogram to feel like you are indeed that score. And I also feel that if you put it out in the universe, that's what you're looking for, that you will attract a match and you'll know to look for those qualities, right? Because now it's defined. Right. So there is, in my belief, a very strong spiritual component. This is not just math and calculations.
Wonderful.
Oh,
Wonderful. That's good to know.
that is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like that.
Yes, you want to.
Because you never get what you say you want. You get what you represent, who you are, what you radiate.
Absolutely.
So however you show up in the universe is what you're going to actually attract. People say, I want this, but you keep attracting this. Unlike you, but it is like you. So you just have to be.
Yeah, I think that's where that awareness, as you said, when you're taking this, the awareness and being honest, that's the key.
That is.
Being honest with yourself as well as your partner. And that's how you get back into alignment with making sure that you guys are on the same page and moving in the same direction. If you don't talk about it, you won't know.
But there's a lot of barriers that need to come down. Because like you said, when you first meet, it's just a representation of the person I am truly. Right? It's not my true self when we first meet. So we're just meeting on false pretenses in the beginning anyway. So we have to get to the real us.
Remove those.
Right. In order to actually get down to, who I'm actually dating. Like sometimes like I'm going to be the perfect girlfriend so I could become the perfect wife. I'm going to do all these different things. And then you get married and then you change because then your true self comes out and the person goes, I didn't marry you. This is not the person I married, right?
Totally.
You were representing this, and then you come back and you show up as something else, and then that creates an issue. So we always tell couples, show up as yourself. Don't start anything that you don't want to continue doing.
That's right.
If you know you don't like cooking, don't start cooking.
That's right.
And pretending to do all this stuff.
That's kind of funny. And the guy's like, dang, I messed up. Now I'm trapped.
That's right. That's right. We tell people all the time, don't pretend to be something that you're not and something that you don't like, because then it will set in resentment. Right? So you're trying to be
Yeah.
something that you truly are not. All right, let's get the
Yeah.
rest of our comments and get on out of here.
Okay. All right. All right. Ba-ba.
All right. Dot said, what you radiate, you attract.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And she also said.
And Dot also said that's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, that is it. What you radiate is what you attract. I mean, 100%.
Absolutely.
You can say whatever you want out of your mouth, but what you radiate is what the universe is gonna bring back to you.
They're your frequency of everything, your
I love
energy.
that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And what people don't realize is that you can also radiate your low self-esteem.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Yep.
And so you can
100%.
attract someone who, like you said, there's a lot of manipulators out there. So we have to be careful about what we think about ourselves and how we treat ourselves. The self-love is the most important component.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's been misled too, because a lot of times people think self-love is, going to get our nails done or feet and stuff like that and being rude to people because I'm going to come first in everything I do. That's not necessarily self-love. That's selfishness. That's selfishness.
Yeah.
But that's not self-love, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you can still
Yep.
get what you want, but, you can do it in a respectful way.
Absolutely. Like self-worth has got nothing to do with being a jerk to someone else.
Right.
If anything, actually, the number one trait that we found for men and women is that they appreciate generosity and kindness first and foremost.
Absolutely.
then
I would
for
totally
m-
agree. Yes.
And then the number one value for both men and women was honesty, dependability, and reliability. So nowhere in there does it say a-hole. Right. So don't be an a-hole. No, but
Right.
I'm serious because
I
like there's
value-
all these
Right.
yeah, like
Yeah,
it
I
you
value
know,
an a-hole. You're like,
Right.
what?
yeah, it's like oh god, like
You say a-hole. Some people say that's a strong individual.
That's the truth, right? He's just being funny. Absolutely, absolutely. Those are very important qualities. All right, so last time, Zoe, give everyone your information again, where they can pick up your book, real quick, what your book is about, and any other information you want them to know.
Sure. The book is called Love Can in Fact Be Calculated. You can find it on the Barnes & Noble website or the Amazon website. My social media handles are at Zoe, Zoey, Sharif, Charif, and the book is called Love Can in Fact Be Calculated, and it's helping you predict where you will end up with your relationship and how you can work on yourself and work on getting back into alignment with your partner.
All right. Well, thank
Wow.
you very much. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you
Yes,
guys so much. This was so much fun. I
told
appreciate
you
it,
that.
truly.
All right.
Yeah,
so
I know. Thank you.
We're gonna wrap this up.
Welcome.
Don't leave. We'll be right back. So let's close this out. So if there's no more comments, we want to thank everyone for tuning in this Friday. Thank you so much. Can you get back to my things real quick? My announcements. Let me see if I got any announcements that I want to tell everyone real quick. Let's see. Oh, so don't forget, manifest. Thank you. Manifest You. Don't forget to go to Legendary Relationship manifestyou.com/manifest you is now available for anyone. That's if you want to it's practicing self-love. It's getting you to the point where you realize your values, you know your values, you love yourself enough so that you can be kind and generous, not only to yourself, but to your partner. And don't forget, for this episode, please don't keep it to yourself.
No, don't
Make
do
sure
that.
the first thing you do is you hit the like,
Yep.
and then what should they do?
Share,
And then,
tell a friend,
then
and tell
make-
some more friends.
That's right. So if you are not a subscriber on our YouTube
YouTube.
channel, please go to YouTube and look up Legendary Relationship and make sure you become a subscriber so that you will know when we are going live. All right? So don't forget, for those of you who may have, you can download our free emotional intimacy guide that has the 20 questions, the 20 emotional intimacy questions for you and your partner. And guys, even if you don't have a partner, you may want to go, look at the questions
Yeah.
so that you'll know what to ask when you do get a partner. And if
Or
you
you'll get clarity on what you actually stand for, where your emotional measuring stick is.
And I think knowledge is the greatest gift, right?
Yep.
So when we have the knowledge, so if you are in a relationship, if you are in a marriage, this is your way to spark meaningful conversations. This is your way, because oftentimes we get into relationships and once we get to know each other on those terms and we've created the relationship we want, we don't go back and wonder why we're not in alignment. We don't go to figure out, well, what was your childhood like? What were your parents like? What are some of the things that you valued as a kid or you value now that maybe I'm not valuing? There's things that we need to know that we don't ask early in relationships. So I'm suggesting that you guys go to legendaryrelationship.com and it's free. Download the 20 emotional intimacy questions so that you can have meaningful conversations. All right? So even if you've been married 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, there's still some things
There's still some
guarantee
things.
that you don't know about
Come
your
on
partner.
now. There's still some things after
Because-
30-something years.
Yeah, because we're
Yes.
so busy starting from where we started and just trying to keep up with everything that's going on in life now that we forget that there's a part of us that we don't know that we need to share. And that's where that emotional intimacy, the emotional connection, all of that comes in so that we can have that safety and security where we feel, safe, right?
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you can tell them they can catch us here next Friday.
Oh yeah, definitely. But you guys know that. Okay, so for the new people, right? We're here every Friday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Come out. You see, we're going to bring on some of the most powerful guests that we could find out here, just to bring the good information to you, right? Relationships and life isn't just, it isn't easy, but it can be manageable, right? So we have to find out how to get through life, not just because of what our parents or whatever told us. We have to find it on our own terms, right? We have to find out what we actually want out of our lives.
That's right.
Not what society says, not what the parent says, not what the government says. What do you truly want for your life?
What makes you happy? So next Friday, we are talking about moving past seeming barriers. So you can find us at Legendary Relationship on Facebook or YouTube. So we love and appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in this Friday. And as always, we know that you will be back next Friday.
Of
Let's
course you
thank our
will.
guest, Zoe. Thank
Yes,
you so much,
Zoe.
Zoe. And then
Thank you.
go out and pick up her book. And while you're at it, you can pick up ours too, Manifest a Joy-Filled Relationship.
Yeah.
All right.
I love
Any other
that.
comments?
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, let's get some comments. All right. This is where you have a fantastic evening and weekend, everyone. You too, Dot. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend.
All right.
All right, we getting down there.
Yeah.
And
Livonia.
Livonia says,
Hey, Livonia. Hey,
yes,
how are you?
Thank you for checking in.
Yep.
Happy Friday.
Yep.
All
Thank you
right,
so much.
guys. So as we get out of here, we want to thank our guest, Zoe. You are always welcome to come back. We want to know
Thank
every
you.
time you guys check in with the new love
Formula.
formula. It always changes. Feel free to drop back on in anytime to let us know how it's going. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank
all right.
you.
Oh, you are very welcome.
All right. So hold tight.
Hold
and
tight.
then, as always, guys,
We're in it to win it. Till next week, guys.
Till next week.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Lovin' Beyond the I Do podcast. Head over to iTunes to subscribe and leave a review. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Legendary Relationship, or visit our website at legendaryrelationship.com. Till next time, remember to make every day count.